Are you caught up in your own thoughts, emotions, reactions? Murdo MacDonald-Bayne. Call upon me in the day of trouble, I will deliver thee, and thou shalt glorify me. Psalm 50:15. When conditions seem severe, denying them or trying to run away from them does not alter them. Only by understanding can we master all conditions. Some will say that nervous conditions exist because of our lack of control of our mind. But when you are only controlling your mind and thoughts, you are not understanding, you are merely contracting, and this brings suppression, which is the cause of nervous conditions through fear. You try to control your mind because you are afraid of what your thoughts may produce. Some live in perpetual fear of what their thoughts will produce for them. This is truly a lack of understanding of the law of creation. Your mind is a vehicle through which many thoughts pass. When you look at them as you would look at a flock of birds passing across a windless sky, leaving no trace, you are free from their influence. Only when you fear them do you drag them into your consciousness. What I feared has come upon me. What is necessary is to have a pliable mind with understanding, then there is an immediate discernment of right values. Therefore, control becomes unnecessary. Controlling of the mind in this sense means limitation, because it becomes dominated by the idea of fear or the idea of escape. When ideas come into your mind, you try to brush them aside. At the same time, you try to focus your attention on a particular idea in opposition to the idea or thought which you wish to escape from. You will note that is not thinking. You are merely caught up in a struggle between ideas. Thus you are causing repressions and confusion without gaining any results. When thoughts or ideas you do not desire come into your mind, do not fight with them or struggle with them. Allow them to enter into your mind and discern their true value. When you receive thoughts or ideas, you will notice that they are relative to you, and then you can do what you like with them. The true function of the mind is to receive thoughts and ideas without strain. Then there is peace, and turmoil ceases. Mental alertness is the state you should cultivate, then you will discern what is happening. Anything that is contrary to the happiness of your fellows would then be abandoned, and happiness is secured through cooperation. Many people who think they are spiritual are strained, they imitate, and hence are caught up in struggle. True being is living. You do not have to imitate if you crave to be something. You will pursue your craving only to be caught up in sorrow and confusion. It is not a question of balancing your mind between opposites, where your mind becomes the battleground for conflict. Only when the mind is free from conflict can there be peace and harmony. If your mind is caught up in desire, craving, selfishness, and separation, the ecstasy of infinite love and wisdom can never be known, and whatever you seek will end in conflict. The only foundation for true happiness is when your actions are in accordance with the highest that is within you, then your rewards are phenomenal. When this state exists, there is security, there is joy, and conflict disappears. You no longer crave for qualities you think you should have or not have. You have that quality that is harmony itself. Virtues and their opposites are but craving of the mind that is full of conflict through fear. This is separation in its most subtle form. When you are free from that bundle of qualities, then there is no fear, no opposites, there is only love and wisdom, and in reality that is all there is. As long as your mind is caught up in false values, there can be no realization of that life in which there is no distinction, no separation, no craving, no time, no opposites. If you can grasp the true meaning of this, then your action becomes pure action in which there is no reaction. If you are continually occupied with the self, which is selfishness, where there is attraction, repulsion, and continual effort, then this life that is free cannot be understood and cannot be experienced. You just put yourself in a cage which separates you from your fellows. If you will take time to think, you will see that all thought is limited by the state of consciousness of the individual who thinks. To understand that which is limitless, unconditioned, you cannot have your mind burdened by the thought of the self. If your mind is burdened with the conflict of ethics, you will not understand truth. But if your mind is no longer bound up in the self, nor bound by virtues, by distinctions, by tradition and formalities, then you will comprehend what I mean by pure action, spontaneous action that is free from separateness. If you are seeking happiness, then this understanding cannot be postponed. You must free yourself from false values to have enlightenment. Ignorance is not an absence of learning, but the confusion and conflict of a mind that lacks true values. and the acquiring of this requires the discernment of your motives, thoughts, emotions, and reactions. If you are continually wondering what is right and wrong, you only confuse the issue, and your mind is caught up in this conflict, which prevents you from understanding the true ecstasy of life. If you are trying to imitate, trying to mold yourself after a pattern, you only create an image of what you think to be the ultimate reality, so you carefully fashion yourself after it, thereby losing the substance for the shadow. If you imitate, then by what means can you realize this enduring happiness, the life that is ever present? This is enduring happiness. Life is not separate but is unbounded unity. You cannot understand what is enduring happiness while the mind is occupied with distinctions, self, and separation. When you are conscious of an inward poverty, you set up an authority and worship it. You want to lean on someone because you feel unequal to the task, not realizing that life is real, that life is intelligence. So you look outside yourself for aid while reality always abides within yourself, complete in itself, expressing itself. So in your ignorance you want to shelter in the comfort of an idea. Your mind must no longer be agitated by the worship of virtues and the horror of sin. For if you are molding yourself after a pattern, there is fear. Fear disappears when you seek understanding, freed from the illusion of time and space, which is separation. The understanding of life will always elude you if you follow the narrow path of ethics. To be without fear, you must know yourself to be. Understand the meaning of illusions, vanities, jealousies, envies, cravings. You must also free your mind from the burden of longing, hope, and regret. If you can perceive your own emptiness and understand it, then you can dissolve it. Only in this way can there be true understanding of life in the ever-present. The ever-expanding consciousness will always be the reality, while all that is external can be discerned with wisdom and understanding. The infinite life is ever expressing itself in love and wisdom. You limit its action in yourself through narrow, bigoted beliefs, thus you prevent its true expression in your life here and now. By means of inspiration you supply the conditions so that the life intelligence can be received by the soul, which becomes the receiving set, and your body, brain, and nervous system the sounding board, thus the invisible becomes visible. We do not exist as separate individuals but as units in one whole. In the Bible we read, "By the word of the Lord were the heavens made, and all the host of them by the breath of his mouth." Jesus said, "Let the dead bury the dead." They were those who believed in death. If you fear death, you are as the dead. The living do not fear death. The dead are burdened by the past, by memory, by time. But for the living the present is the eternal. You weave the net of time so your thought is caught up in it. The dead seek life, but life cannot be found in the belief of death. The timeless has neither beginning nor end. The self, the maker of time, must yield itself to the timeless. I and the Father are one. This reveals the ever-present, the birthless, deathless, timeless. Oh, if I could only make you see. It is not by constantly asserting that you are whole that you become whole. Such repetition is but self-hypnosis. To gain freedom, wisdom, and love, there must be true understanding and a knowledge of the self, not mere repetition that drugs the mind. I of myself am nothing. It is the Father who ever remaineth within me. He doeth the work. Benediction. O divine nature, thou art the essence of my soul. My wanderings in the forest of doubt delayed my understanding of thy presence. As sleeping sons and daughters of God awaken, so does my greater self awaken more and more. Sons and daughters of God understand that they have everything the Father has. I and the Father are one. This realization gives dominion over all things, even as the Father has. This is my birthright, O Divine One. My peace and my love remain with you. Yours sincerely, M. MacDonald-Bayne.